Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Jennifer Sathwaker here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 15 of What If Deku Had a Super Speed Quirk. I just wanted to greet you guys by saying, sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. So we begin. Everything fell silent as the explosions stopped. Asui watched as the forest below caught fire, her emotions mirroring the destructive nature of the fire she was watching. She was furious that a group would be so willing to turn their followers into bombs. She was livid that, once again, her friends had been attacked. Froppy looked around the mountain she was on and noticed the destruction. Craters covered the portion of the mountain where they were standing. Scorch marks were broken up by the craters. The tears streaming down Uraraka's face slowly stopped as she looked around. A black-haired man walked over to the two girls sitting by the edge of the mountain. That girl you fought had a slim chance of survival. Uraraka, use your quirk on Midoriya, Aizawa tiredly said. Once we get back to UA, I'm going to have everyone hand in a report explaining what they think they need to improve on. Sir, do you know anyone who could teach me how to fight? Uraraka suddenly asked. What made you decide to become a combat hero? Eraserhead curiously asked, with a yawn. I want to be a hero who saves people, Uraraka said in a sad tone of voice as she looked at the ground. This is the third time where my inability to fight became a burden on my friends, and I might have been able to save that girl if I had known how to fight. I see. In the meantime, ask Ojiro for help in that area, while I see if I can find someone who can teach you martial arts, her teacher said as he smiled. When Midoriya wakes up, ask him what happened to his phone. We haven't been able to find it, and I know he had it at today's training. Of course, sir, the brown-haired girl said graciously. Uraraka let out a gasp in shock when she saw Izuku. A series of bandages covered both arms. The brown-haired girl placed her hand on her friend and activated her quirk. Aizawa picked Izuku up, and everyone started walking down the mountain. The trek down the mountain was quiet, as everyone tried to process what had happened. As the blaze continued to spread through the forest, everyone was left wondering if they were truly safe. After the teachers determined that all their students were accounted for, and the medical staff assessed and tended to the students' injuries, teachers instructed their students to pack their belongings so they could return to UA the following morning. A few days after classes 1A and 1B returned to UA, Principal Nezu was pacing around his office. Nezu's desk was located to the right of the door leading into his office. Shelves filled with books lined the walls both behind and in front of his desk, while the wall to the right of his desk consisted of a floor-to-ceiling window that gave him a nice view of the UA campus. In the middle of the office, situated between two black couches, was a small coffee table. Due to the most recent attack on the students, the Whiteford principal had canceled classes and organized various activities for the students to participate in. The only thing on his desk was a monitor with an email from the Safety Commission. His pacing was interrupted by a knock on the door. Come in. The door is unlocked. Please sit down. There is something we need to discuss, Principal Nezu said, already knowing who was at the door without having to look. Aizawa was followed into the room by a man with dark green hair. The two pro-heroes walked over to one of the couches and sat down. The principal sat down on the other couch. The Safety Commission sent me a rather surprising email earlier today regarding one of your students, Aizawa, the UA principal said without showing any emotion. Which student does it concern? Aizawa said sullenly, expecting the worst. It seems that Midoriya's actions at the sports festival, and then later at the training camp, impressed members of the Safety Commission, and they have determined that he has earned his provisional hero license, Nezu replied. Sir Night-Eye, the principal continued, would you be willing to let Midoriya do his hero work study at your agency for the duration of the provisional licensing exam? Based on what I have heard, Midoriya seems qualified, so I am willing to let him do his hero work study at my agency. I would like him to continue interning at my hero agency once the exam has been completed, Sir Night-Eye said. Aizawa, please send Midoriya to my office before you discuss the provisional license exam with your students tomorrow, Nezu requested. Then to Sir Night-Eye he added, I would like to discuss the logistics of protecting the test sites with you. If you don't mind, sir, I will be taking my leave then. Aizawa muttered, surprised by the news. "You're free to go," Principal Nezu said absently. As Aizawa was exiting the office, he heard Nezu and Night Eye discussing which test site was the most likely to be attacked. Walking back to the dormitory, Eraserhead contemplated how he would inform the class that Midoriya wouldn't be taking part in the exam, and his concern that having the top-ranked heroes in Japan overseeing the safety of the exam sites might actually place the students at greater risk of an attack by villains. The next day, Eraserhead had the class schedule for the next 2 weeks displayed on the board when the students entered the room. He was leaning against the wall looking at his phone while the students sat in their assigned seats in silence, waiting for him to speak. Finally, Aizawa looked up and put his phone away. "Midoriya, Principal Nezu would like to see you in his office. After your conversation with the principal, head over to Training Gym Gamma," Aizawa flatly said as he stepped away from the wall. Izuku looked at his teacher in surprise, but picked up his bag and left the room. The rest of 1A was as confused as Midoriya by their teacher's announcement. After the door shut behind Midoriya, Aizawa began speaking. "Under normal circumstances, the provisional license exam would consist of 2 parts. Normally, we would have you take the provisional license exam in your 2nd year. However, you've all proven that you are ready, so we are giving you the opportunity to take the exam in your 1st year. The teacher began in a monotone voice. "The Safety Commission deemed Part 1 of the exam inadequate to test the strength of young heroes, so they have dispensed with that part of the exam, and have made the 2nd part of the exam longer and more difficult. For security purposes, the Safety Commission has limited the number of students taking the test at any one location to 100 per testing site. Lastly, the Commission has required that to qualify for the provisional license exam, students must have first passed preliminary tests in their schools. Due to the villain attacks on UA, our students have been exempted from the qualification tests." "So, does that mean that Borealis isn't going to have a shot at getting a provisional license?" Katsuki asked belligerently. While his teacher was explaining the details of the provisional license exam to the class, Borealis was on his way to the principal's office. Random thoughts were racing through his mind. He was sure his homeroom teacher was about to explain how the provisional license exam was going to work, and it concerned him that he was being excluded. Izuku was also wondering when he would get the opportunity to replace his phone. He was scared that the principal was going to expel him from UA, because, once again, he hadn't requested help when fighting a villain. Deep in thought, he almost ran right into the principal. "Excuse me, young man, do you have a moment?" Nezu asked the distracted green-haired student. "I would like to explain why you won't be able to take the provisional license exam." "Principal Nezu, I thought I was supposed to head to your office," Izuku said in shock as he noticed the principal for the first time. "You are. It occurred to me that you might think you were getting expelled, so I wanted to put your mind at ease as soon as possible," the UA principal said with concern in his voice. "Rest assured, that is not the case. In fact, it is exactly the opposite. It seems that the Safety Commission was so impressed by your actions that they decided to give you an opportunity rarely given to any student, let alone a 1st year. I will explain once we are in the privacy of my office." "What kind of opportunity, sir?" Borealis muttered in confusion. "One that puts you closer to becoming a hero," Nezu said in an upbeat voice. "Let's discuss this further in my office." Izuku walked in silence next to the principal. The green-haired boy wondered what kind of opportunity he was being offered. Borealis remembered 4 instances when a student was given a provisional license without having to take the exam. But, unlike him, those students were exceptional. Nezu watched Izuku as they were walking to his office. As they arrived at the principal's office, they saw Sir Night-Eye waiting for them at the door to the office. "Hello, Midoriya. I wasn't expecting to see you again so soon," Sir Night-Eye calmly said as the two approached. "I'm sorry to hear about what happened at the training camp." "Good. Now everyone is here. Let's discuss the opportunity," Nezu said as he opened the door to his office. "Midoriya, feel free to interrupt if you have any questions." "Thank you, sir," Izuku said with a puzzled expression as he entered the room. "Given the circumstances, it makes sense that you're not smiling," Sir Night-Eye said with a smile as he entered the room behind Izuku. Well done. I heard about that kid you saved on the mountain. I'm impressed you were able to hold out long enough for help to arrive when you fought against Muscular. The principal was the last one to enter the room. As he did, he closed the door. Night-Eye took a seat on one of the couches and motioned for Izuku to sit on the other couch. Nezu sat down next to Sir Night-Eye and poured everyone a cup of tea. As you probably suspect, Aizawa is currently discussing the provisional license exam with your class, the principal said pleasantly as he took a sip of tea. In an email I received yesterday from the Safety Commission, I was informed that based on your actions during the attacks at the sports festival and the training camp, they are giving you your provisional hero license. How come the rest of Class 1A isn't being considered? Izuku asked in shock. It came down to how you handled yourself when All Might and All for One clashed, Sir Night-Eye said with a sad smile as he examined Izuku. You were the only one who put the civilians at ease when you rescued them. Aside from your friend Bakugo, the other students weren't ready to save people. You and Bakugo were the only two who reacted without hesitation to try and save people. The Safety Commission didn't make the same offer to Bakugo because of his abrasive personality. Every civilian that you saved acknowledged how you were trying to put them at ease, Nezu said with pride in his voice as he looked at his cup of tea. While they could tell you were nervous, they were put at ease when you smiled. The people you saved at the sports festival said the same thing, which brings us to what I wanted to discuss with you. Even if they're willing to make an exception for me, shouldn't I take the test? Izuku stuttered as he tried to understand what he had just heard. In their opinion, no. They don't expect to see you behaving differently during the exam, the man with glasses explained. What this means is that you will have to work harder to prove yourself worthy of this opportunity. Which brings me to your hero work study. Since you have your provisional license, you will need to decide which pro-hero agency you want to intern at, Nezu said as he took another sip of tea. To make your life easier, Night-Eye and I agreed to offer you the opportunity to intern at his agency if you wanted to. I would appreciate that. When would I start, sir? Borealis asked excitedly. I will send you an email once I've worked it out with your teachers, Night-Eye said. You will most likely start before the provisional license exam. If you have any additional questions, feel free to ask. What exactly is the hero work study? Izuku asked as he tried to process what was happening. You will be performing the normal activities that a hero performs on patrol, the Whiteford principal said. Instead of sitting on the sidelines, you will operate as a sidekick to a pro-hero. You will be acquiring valuable experience for when you're a hero, Night-Eye added as he took a sip of tea. For the most part, you will be going on patrol. You will be paired with someone else so you can get experience of working as part of a team. Izuku took a sip of tea as he thought about his next question. This was so unexpected that he had dozens of questions buzzing around his mind, but he decided to ask the one question that seemed most important to him. What will I be doing during the provisional license exam? Borealis asked, sounding extremely puzzled. You will be patrolling the exam site where your classmates are taking their provisional license exam, Sir Night-Eye said in his customary monotone. You will be paired with another UA student who is already interning at my agency. Given the number of high-ranking pro-heroes protecting the tests, I expect villains to try and disrupt the exam to make names for themselves. Before you share this information with your classmates, I suggest you speak with Aizawa, the UA principal said as he finished his cup of tea. He might not want you to tell them everything. If you have no additional questions, you may rejoin your class as soon as you finish your tea. Izuku sipped his tea slowly as he tried to analyze his emotions. Shock was the only emotion that Borealis felt. Once he finished his tea, he thanked both the principal and Sir Night-Eye and raced out of the office. He sprinted back to his dorm room and dropped off his bag. Izuku quickly changed into his hero costume and left his room, making sure to lock the door behind him before running to Training Gym Gamma. Izuku felt elated by the fact that he had cleared a major hurdle on his way to becoming a hero. As he got closer to the training gym, he felt nervous. The green-haired boy couldn't figure out how he was supposed to tell his classmates. Another thought suddenly occurred to him. What if Aizawa didn't want him to say anything at all? As he approached Gym Gamma, he noticed his teacher standing outside of the door. As Izuku approached the gym, his teacher looked up from his phone and smiled at him. Aizawa waved as Izuku started to slow down to stop. "How did the meeting go?" Aizawa asked innocently as Borealis came to a halt in front of him. "How does it feel to be a provisionally licensed hero?" "Strange. It feels strange. I wasn't expecting to get my license this way," Izuku stuttered with a smile. "Principal Nezu said I should talk to you before I say anything to my classmates." "You may tell them everything, except details about the hero work study. I don't need them focusing on something other than the provisional license exam," Aizawa replied. "Also, I have spoken with Night Eye, and we agreed that you will go on patrol every day at 3 p.m. after class. And one last thing you should know. Shortly after you left his office, Nezu received your provisional license. Night Eye will give it to you when you go on patrol after we finish training here." "Can I tell them at the end of training, sir?" Borealis asked with nervous excitement. "That's fine. I intend to stop the training 5 minutes early," Class 1A's teacher said, sounding bored. "This way, everyone can relax before we head to the next training location." "Thank you, sir," the green-haired boy said as he entered the gym. Aizawa waited a few seconds before entering the gym himself. He was happy to see that his class was ready to tackle any challenge head-on. Eraserhead continued to smile as he saw Izuku head into the concrete training arena. Aizawa was pleased with the progress his class was making with their special moves. He hoped that the provisional license exam would take place without any issues. Izuku raced through the concrete mountains as he searched for his friends. After a few moments, he found them training with Gran Torino. The short, white-haired man smacked Katsuki on the leg just after Katsuki released a focused explosion. "I already told you not to put so much force into your blasts," Gran Torino said with mild annoyance. Izuku slowed down once he reached the pair. He quickly looked around for Uraraka and Ida, but failed to see either of them. As he walked over to Gran Torino, his childhood friend released another explosion. This time, the blast wasn't strong enough and didn't affect the concrete. "Gran Torino! Kacchan! How are you guys doing?" Izuku asked happily as he walked over to them. "How did it go with Principal Nezu? Aizawa told me why Nezu wanted to see you," Gran Torino said as he looked back at Izuku. "Are you taking the provisional license exam or what, Borealis?" Katsuki grumbled in annoyance. "If you weren't so abrasive, you would have reached his level by now," Gran Torino said with a smirk. "You've definitely earned it." "Do you know where Uraraka and Ida are?" Borealis asked excitedly. "As soon as Ground Zero here completes the exercise I gave him, I will take you there," Gran Torino said pleasantly. "While you're wasting time here, your friend has already gone to the next stage." "I'm not losing to Borealis, or anyone else for that matter," Ground Zero growled. Katsuki had his fingers on his left hand form a circle with his left palm. He then placed his left hand on his right palm. Ground Zero released an explosive blast from his right palm. His left hand focused the blast into a stream. A small circle formed in the concrete mountain Katsuki was aiming at. Aside from the small hole that was formed in the mountain, nothing else changed. Gran Torino motioned for the two boys to follow him. The retired pro hero led the way to a dead end. The dead end was formed by 3 concrete mountains. Uraraka was using grappling hooks that were built into her costume to throw large concrete boulders at Ida. Ida used his Recipro Burst to avoid the boulders when he could. If he was unable to avoid the rocks, he would activate One for All. Ida would then smash the boulder with a punch. The class president was the first to notice the 3 people walking towards them. As Uraraka was getting ready to make another set of rocks weightless, Ida pointed behind her. "Uraraka, look behind you. Midoriya is back from the principal's office, and Bakugo has finally finished his super move," Ida said as he waved to 3 people approaching them. "Hey Midoriya, why did the principal want to see you?" "If you've already spoken to Aizawa, you might as well tell them," Gran Torino bluntly said. "Even if Aizawa told you not to share it with the class, I think these 3 can be told." "Aizawa wanted me to tell the class why I couldn't take the exam. He said to leave out the other thing," Izuku whispered as he looked at his 3 friends. "Makes sense. The other thing the principal discussed with you would just distract them," Gran Torino said with a knowing smile. "Nezu wanted to tell me that the Safety Commission decided to give me my provisional hero license based on my past actions. Borealis explained as his face turned bright red from embarrassment. That's amazing, Deku! You get to save people already! I can't wait to hear about Borealis saving people! Uraraka excitedly said as she started bouncing on her feet in excitement. What will you be doing while we take the provisional license exam? I'm not sure. I will be working with Sir Night-Eye, though, the green-haired boy muttered nervously. If you're working with Night-Eye, then you will be guarding your friends, Gran Torino said. You three better not waste this opportunity to get your licenses. Izuku's three friends pushed themselves even harder in an attempt to catch up to their friend. Katsuki in particular jumped at every chance he got to spar with his green-haired friend. Borealis ended up fighting his friends in a 3-versus-1 match. With a greater mastery over his quirk, the green-haired boy was able to avoid his friend's attacks by finding the path with the least resistance. The match continued for 3 hours before Gran Torino told them that class was coming to an end. You better not slack off, Borealis. I'm gonna try and surpass you now, Katsuki grumbled with a smile as he patted his friend on the back. Don't expect it to be an easy fight next time, nerd. Agreed. Congratulations on getting your provisional license, Midoriya. But I have no intention of losing to my rival, Ida said with determination as a smile crossed his face. Next time, it will be our turn to protect you. This just makes me want to train even harder. Just you wait, Borealis. Next time, we'll be fighting side by side, Uraraka happily said as she clenched her fist in determination. You better tell us what it's like going on patrols with pro heroes. Thanks for the encouragement, guys. Now I'm going to try even harder, Izuku said with a smile. Gran Torino led the 4 friends over to Aizawa. Once Class 1A was near their homeroom teacher, the black-haired man motioned for Izuku to explain. With a face red from embarrassment, Borealis told the class that he had already earned his provisional license. For the rest of 1A, I expect everyone to pass the provisional license exam. Otherwise, you'll be getting extra lessons from me, Aizawa threatened the students. Izuku then split off from the class and went to meet up with Sir Night-Eye, who was waiting for him at the entrance to UA. Borealis quickly settled into his new routine of training with his class in the morning and patrolling in the afternoon. After they did the patrols, Night-Eye had Izuku spar with his other intern, Mirio. To make the fights harder, the pro hero had both interns wear weights on their arms and legs. Neither of them was allowed to use their quirks. The fights always started the same way. Borealis would race forward in an attempt to close the gap with Mirio, and Mirio would dodge to his left while throwing a right punch into Izuku's stomach. The green-haired boy would then move to his left. Mirio would then retaliate by rushing Izuku. Once the blonde-haired boy was close to Izuku, he would stop and swing his right elbow at his green-haired opponent. Mirio's experience allowed him to defeat Izuku every time. Despite constantly losing, Borealis felt like his fighting ability was improving each time he went up against the more experienced intern. After the training, he would head back to UA thoroughly exhausted. After 3 weeks of the routine, Night-Eye decided to skip the training one night. He told both interns to meet him at the entrance to UA at dawn in their hero costumes. The provisional license exam was tomorrow, and he wanted everyone ready to protect those taking it. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in the story thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. First, we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes deep into the facts and lore of a wide variety of anime. It's sure to expand your weeb knowledge for all kinds of series, guaranteed. On top of that, we have a third channel called We the Celestials Naruto What If. It's what we do on this channel already, but in the vast world and lore of Naruto. Go check it out if you're in the mood for some jutsu action. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, then I would like to extend out an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being we only accept members 16 years and up to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the Recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. Our Discord is an all-around fantastic place to be, whether you're a fan or looking to join our band of misfits. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it for us from today's video. So thank you all for watching and have a great day.